it. We will begin with our presentation on Germany's funding landscape, followed by 7 speaker contributions through presentations or interviews featuring our international experts from diverse academic and funding backgrounds. And we have designed a well-structured program that aligns with the academic career stages of our speakers. So we will start with the pre-PhD phase and end with an established professor. After that, there will be plenty of time for your questions. Finally, please remember today's focus is solely on funding in research careers when typing your questions. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce my dear colleague, Inji Nafi.
Thank you, Clarissa. Thank you very much. And also from my side, hello, everyone. And I will start sharing my screen, my presentation. Maybe give me a heads up that you can see everything. And to our speakers, you can gladly turn off your cameras and and you can open them as soon as you start. And yes, and again from my side, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's Meet Your Future You. My name is Inji Nafi, and I'm the Senior Desk Officer responsible for the online communications at the Research in Germany initiative at the DAAD. And I will briefly introduce the different funding opportunities available in Germany, so the theory, before we hear from our esteemed international researchers who will share their first-hand experiences. And without further ado, let's dive into some facts and figures. Looking at the research expenditure, Germany invests a lot in research and development and is one of the countries with the highest investment in R&D. Around 30% of the research and development investments come from tax revenues. And in this context, considerable funding is available for international researchers. So let's continue with the question, who does research in Germany? And the German research landscape is based on 3 main pillars, with research taking place at universities and other higher education institutions, roughly 430 in total. And today we have amazing selection of researchers who are doing their research mainly at universities. There are the non-university research institutions. In the next slide, I'll introduce you to Germany's Big Four. And last but not least, and also an important part, are the businesses and industry. And this is also a very big factor. But today we're not focusing on them. Yes, so let's take a look at the public and publicly funded research institutions, especially the 4 main internationally renowned research organizations with their hundreds of research institutes and centers and research budgets in billions. So we're starting with the Leibniz Association, and it has 97 independent research institutes, and it has a broad spectrum of subjects with emphasis on social sciences and on humanities throughout, also including life sciences, natural and environment sciences, mathematics, engineering. And we're speaking of almost 30% of their researchers are from abroad. Another example is the Max Planck Gesellschaft, which focuses on basic research and has a high proportion of international researchers as well. And here we're speaking from over 55% of the scientists are from abroad. Next comes the Helmholtz Association, and this is the largest German research organization, and it runs important research infrastructures and large-scale facilities. So we're talking about accelerator systems, experimentation facilities, research vessels, and supercomputers, so everything that takes a little bit of space. They have it. And last but not least, the Fraunhofer Gesellschaft, and they are the world's leading organization for application-oriented research, focusing on future-relevant key technologies and on utilizing the research findings into businesses and in the industry. And now, who supports these scientists who can take part in so many different areas? So there are 3 main players, and I'm going to introduce them to you. First of all is the DAD, where Clarissa and I work, and the DAD is the world's largest organization for student and academic exchange. And the DAD supports with the internationalization of higher education and has a large network of regional offices and information centers. We're speaking of almost 60 countries worldwide. And the DAD offers funding for all subjects and levels. And we're very happy to have a couple of DED scholars with us today who will share more about the experience regarding that. Next comes the Humboldt Foundation, which focuses on funding individuals, not projects. And the funding usually starts from postdoctoral level. And a distinctive feature is having a major worldwide Humboldt network that provides alumni with lifelong networking and renewed support opportunities. And we also have someone today from our speakers from the Humboldt network in Bulgaria, if I'm not mistaken. Next comes the DFG, which is the largest funder of research at universities and non-universities. And non-university research institutions with an annual budget of almost 4 billion euros in 2022. And the funding starts from PhD level, and they offer both project and individual funding, as well as funding for structures, like, for example, collaborative research centers, research training groups, or implementation of excellence strategy. And today we have also a professor who received a DFG grant and will tell us a little bit more about it. So I'm speaking of grants, scholarships, and so many different types. And indeed, there are different funding types for international researchers in Germany. And today we're going to just talk about a few and show then the amazing examples that we have. So starting with the scholarships. Germany offers a variety of scholarships to support international researchers. These are perceived by, for example, or given by the DAD, for instance, but other foundations and nonprofit organizations. And the duration of these scholarships ranges from 1 to 3 years approximately, with a possible of expansion. And these scholarships are often merit-based, which means it depends on the academic excellence, the research potential, and the relevance of the proposed project play a big role in the selection process. And there are sometimes scholarships for specific fields or for specific target groups. And there are different types. There are short-term, long-term, and again, today we have multiple speakers who will talk about their short-term and long-term scholarships that they received previously. Next comes the research grants, and these are major funding tools for researchers at different career levels. These grants are provided by government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and even the European Union programs. For example, like the DFG also, and the Federal Ministry of Education and Research, and EU programs like Horizon Europe. Maybe you've heard one or two of these names. And the research grants can be individual or part of a larger collaborative project. And these grants cover expenses such as personnel costs, equipment, travel, publication fees, and different things. And again, we have someone today who will tell us how their experience was with the grants. Getting to the university employments, this is from the name. It's an employment. It's a working contract. And you work at the university, for instance, or a research institute as a research assistant. And the position can be both full-time or part-time. Therefore, you have specific responsibilities, which I'll mention in a few, and can also at the same time work on your PhD. And these responsibilities can come as teaching or also involve contributing to research projects, data collection, publishing academic papers. It has different forms and colors. And the funding comes in form of a salary. Therefore, it's a contract. And we have two researchers with us today who are or who have had or doing having an employment research, an employment funding. Yes. Next comes the project-based funding, which funds, like the name, specific research projects. And as a result, researchers are hired for a specific duration of time, which typically aligns with the funding for this project. And the key aspect of project-based funding is that researchers must meet project-specific requirements and milestones, which are often set, of course, by the funding agencies. And these take place, for example, in the excellence cluster centers, for instance. And also, a very known funding possibility or type are the research fellowships, and these are mainly for postdoctoral researchers, and they can apply for individual fellowships from prestigious organizations like Alexander von Humboldt or Marie Curie, and these fellowships are designed to support postdocs who want to conduct independent research. And it has multiple benefits, like, for example, these fellowships are often flexible in funding and allow researchers to pursue their own research ideas with a degree of autonomy. And there are many more other scholarship or different types of funding, but these are the ones we're focusing mainly on today. And another type of funding is comes from the EU through the European Research Area, and they offer various funding tools to support research and innovation across Europe. One of the key programs is Horizon Europe. Where you can see it's with a huge budget of over 95 billion euros. And there are other tools that you can use, for instance, the Eurexis, that supports researcher mobility and career development by providing access to funding, job opportunities, and networking across Europe. How does such a funding look like? Today, again, we have amazing examples, and I'm just going to share you one. For example, here, this is an opening or a position especially for female researchers, established female researchers from the Leibniz program. And here you can see the level, the duration, and the funding type, because the funding can really come in different shapes and colors. How can you find your suitable scholarship or grant and so on? And now I'm going to show you 3 simple ways where you can find these scholarships or these funding. And the first best source would be the DAD website. If you go to the DAD page and scroll a little bit down, you have the scholarships for Germany. When you click on it, we have a long database, not only with DAD funding, but also others. And you would just need to refine your selection, like show in which discipline you are, in which category you're searching for, from which country, because there are sometimes specific openings for specific countries. And then you will get a list of selections, and here it is very important to take a deeper look into the requirements and what else is needed from your side. Another very helpful tool would be through the PhD Germany database on the Research in Germany website. Here you can also find PhD positions in Germany through this database. Universities send us and they are looking for amazing, great researchers, and they're looking for you, so maybe you can find them there on the tool as well. And while you are on the website of the Research in Germany, when you go on the top of the page here at your goal, you can find information for PhD. We have a selection on how to apply, funding programs for funding organizations everywhere, everything collected into one. And in case you don't know how PhD works in Germany, maybe the Pathfinder here on the top of the page would be a good help for you. And the same goes, of course, for the postdocs. Here are a selection of different tools that you can use to find the suitable position for you. So take a look at our website. We are the Research in Germany initiative, and we're funded by the Federal Ministry of Education and Research and provide targeted information about relevant funding opportunities for the different career levels. Last but not least, before I hand over to Clarissa, we have multiple ways where you can also get information about open calls through our Facebook channel, social media. We have our Funding Friday, where we post every week, every Friday, the funding opportunities that are open, and subscribe to our newsletter because we have a specific category only dedicated for open calls. So maybe these are good sources to find the suitable funding for you. I've spoken too much. Now we know the theory, and I'm handing the microphone back to you, Clarissa.
Thank you, Indy. That was a very great and inspiring and knowledgeable presentation. I will jump back into the presentation. Now you should be able to see the presentation again, and we will right away come to our first speaker, who's originally from Greece but has been living in Germany since 2019. And she completed her master's degree with a DAAD scholarship and has since been working as a research associate in engineering, funded through a university employment contract at TU Dresden. So, Antonia, we are so glad having you with us today. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Clarissa, for the very kind introduction. Hello, good evening, and good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here to give you some insights on my research journey here in Germany, which started 2 years ago. As Clarissa mentioned, I am from Greece. I've been living in Germany since 6 years now, and the past 2 years I live in the very beautiful city of Dresden in the east part of Germany, and I am a researcher in the University of Technology of Dresden. Little bit of a background, which already been covered. I completed my undergraduate studies in Greece. I am an engineer by profession and by research now, with a specialization of oil and gas technology. I decided to pursue some postgraduate studies in Germany, which were fully funded from DAAD actually. Back in the days was a bit more challenging to find information, but I came across an event, so I was very happy to learn about these opportunities in 2017, 18, I would say. I completed successfully my postgraduate studies in the subsurface energy systems. And in the meantime, in between moving to Germany and being initially in Germany before my studies, I also worked in the industry for 4 years. I made a shift and I decided to pursue a further academic career. And since 2023, I am a hired employed researcher in the University of Technology here in Dresden. Now, what actually does that mean? As we see also from Ingi and what maybe some of you already know, there's different types of funding. So I will just give you some highlights and some information how a working contract with the university works, the type of funding. So we are talking about organizations, Public University of Germany. Germany is very well known for having grade A quality, best quality universities, public universities, which are also serving as a research facilities. In this case, when somebody wants to be employed direct in the public university, in most cases, you have to be a postgraduate, so you have completed your postgraduate studies. We talk about the duration of a contract minimum of 3 years, but it depends also on the project and at the same time also the type of funding. Although it's a salary-based work contract, it can be full or part-time.
Comes in the confirmation.
Yes. So as I was saying, the type of funding can be full and part-time. In my case, it's full-time. I'm full employed in the university. Now, this type of work contract, of course, as also Ingi mentioned, you have some responsibilities here. So I would like also to give you some idea of what does it mean actually to be employed in a public university. So we have the employment structure, which briefly was also mentioned in the previous slides, that the work contract is following the TVL system, which is a public university pay scale, full-time, part-time, and fixed-term contracts, which are often renewable depending on the project duration and needs. At the same time, we have the financial aspects, which when we talk about the monthly salary base, that means that tax and social contributions are implied, but at the same time, someone has also accesses to health insurance, pension contributions, and social security benefits. Now, the work itself, this is for some people a double-edged knife, I would say. For example, for me, it's the good side of it, because we have responsibilities which are multiple in this case. You have your own research that you are following to pursue your PhD, but at the same time, somebody also needs to fulfill some other work. You are part of a university where you are being called to assist with undergraduate courses and supervise students, for example, for their thesis. But at the same time, since you are part of an office job, there is also some administrative work that need to be done. So with that being said, actually, we could say that there is maybe two sides one can think or mention. We have the pros and the challenges, is not cons, it's challenges, I would say. So with challenges, I would say that maybe some people would say that it's a bit difficult to balance different simultaneous roles at a university, and also the contract renewals might be challenging for some people or frustrating. But on the other side, this is where I would like to focus. Actually, we are talking about the pros here. So the financial stability, a salary-based funding, in my opinion, provides you financial stability that gives you the freedom to pursue your research, so you can be on your top of your field and to focus on your academic excellency. So it's something that is very important for a young person or an established researcher, actually, that they can proceed actually without further considerations. At the same time, we have also career developments, collaboration with industries. I will come to this in a minute. You have, of course, university resources. That doesn't only mean a card that you're a student, for example. That comes with multiple perks, I would say. And usually, depending on your research leader and how your department is working, you might be able also to work a bit flexible. So you might have also your home office days per week or hours, I would say. Now, where can we find opportunities like this? Already Ingi mentioned some, the databases, job portals, and networking. In my cases, databases work pretty efficiently. So DAD and EURAccess also for European job portals, because nowadays also that is very important, and we can spot also through the university itself some job ads that are published there for work type of research here in their university, and networking, especially from somebody like in my case who might be already a student here. It's always good to have good relationship with your university, or to just reach out to potential professors and researchers that you have in mind and you would like to approach them to ask for an opportunity. And maybe last but not least, I would say for this, what is needed to be done. So once you have spotted an opportunity that you are interested, it's very important, as also it was mentioned before, to understand the requirements. And that I would only like to stress in the point that it's very, very important to know, especially some fields like in engineering, in my case, it's very important to know if German is necessary. Can you work without? Do you need an excellency of German? This stuff is good to be clarified from the beginning, so you can know if you are qualified for this. Then, if you decide it and you fulfill it, you prepare a strong application, and I would say to emphasize on your motivation letter. Reach out before or after applying to pursue some information, or to just, break the ice with a potential professor you might have. Prepare strongly for your interview, and at the end also, as I like always to advise, follow up after the interview. It's always a good indication. And I would like to close with some highlights during my funding journey. In my case, I spotted this opportunity for the university on the DAD database, and I applied. The deadline was done, and I didn't hear back. I didn't hear a no or a yes. So I decided to send an email actually to the corresponding contact person, who is today my research leader and supervisor, and I asked if I am considered, if the position is open, and actually it was, and I was a strong candidate for it. I was invited for the interview, everything went very fine, and I was given the opportunity to start. But for me, the highlights that actually do matter is the three I mentioned, that I am transitioning through this research to a new engineering specialization. As I said, my undergraduate studies and background are in the oil and gas industry. Now I'm more into the process engineering and how energy is being actually produced. You have, at the same time, like I always like to mention, you have vast exposure to industry through collaborations, because Germany doesn't only invest in funding and in research, but at the same time, universities themselves are investing more into trying to establish collaborations with industry, which is something, for example, in my country, in Greece, you don't see it very often. And at the same time, you are speaking about the university resources that you have. One of them is the participation in international and national conferences, which actually you are very much encouraged to participate, so you can increase your research impact and your department's visibility in the scientific contributions. So at the end, it's a win-win, especially for somebody who is really into expanding their career research. I am very happy to be here today, and if somebody has questions, I'm very happy to answer them.
Thank you, Antonia, for sharing such insightful and inspiring perspectives on your funding journey. We will just continue right away, and now we will hear from Manuel, a promising young academic from Ghana. He's focused on sustainable mobility and recently arrived in Germany with a funding from an Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship. Manuel,
Hi.
hi. You are now in Bonn. What was your journey like applying for the Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship, and how did you prepare for the application process?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for welcoming me to Bonn. I think Antonia has said most of the things anyone has to do in preparing for a PPD funding opportunity in Germany, and I could relate. I was having a flashback of how the whole process went last year when I was trying to apply for the Humboldt Humboldt Fellowship. So yes, I mean it's anything Humboldt is competitive. You should know that you are applying against 1,000 people, and in my fellowship we are just 20 who are selected. So just imagine being part of the lucky 20 out of the thousands who applied. It wasn't easy. Moreover, coming out, I was just finishing my master's when I applied for the fellowship. So I was academically burnt out, especially with research. But there was the motivation to continue doing research. So I just needed a break from the PhD level. I needed something to fill in that gap whilst I waited to do PhD the following year. And the fellowship came in handy. It came in handy in the sense that I had to do research. Then later I remembered um, my current host, once recommended it to me when we worked on a project in Ghana. So then it comes back to Antonia's point about networking also. When you network with the right people, you get information about such opportunities, and then you put in the work. Now, I always say that the first step to finding research in Germany is by researching, and you have to do the necessary research, bookmark websites, go on DAD, turn on the newsletter notifications and all. Always on the wait to get information about it, check requirements, and if it requires German, then you also start preparing towards taking German classes and all, which I did with Duolingo, just in case I was I was picked for the fellowship. So yes, it wasn't easy, but it was fun, especially going through the whole process of selection, shortlisting, and yeah. So that was basically my journey. And I'm sure during the question and answer session, I could give more details about the whole process.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, thank you. I mean, you already touched upon many useful tips. And maybe we will just skip the second question then, and we will, or maybe you have one final advice you would like to give the others who are thinking about a pre-PhD funding.
Yeah, so I just think most often so I have this platform, I share scholarship opportunities when I get them in my DM. And one question people always come asking is, how can I apply? How can I apply? And I thought then the best way to apply is by reading what is required of you. Um, Applying for a research scholarship or research funding is not a walk in the park. When people see you with funding, they think, oh yeah, you just know. But there have been times we've been rejected many times, and some we get through. So don't give up. Just be confident. That's what I can say. But most importantly, research. Make sure you are talking to the right people. In preparing for my fellowship, the interview phase, I had to speak to past fellows who had gone through the program, and they prepped me towards my interviews. So it comes back to the networking session, and also making sure that you know what you're about. I realized my interview session didn't end after getting the fellowship. It continued at the embassy, where the officer asked me, "What is your research about?" Now, if I didn't know what my research was about, I would have been found wanting, and everyone would know that your intent for traveling is not genuine. So I think that is basically it. Just get prepared, be confident, apply, and trust God if you believe in God. And yeah, you may get to
I think that these are a few very important points, and we will definitely hear similar questions, I guess, in the Q&A session. So let's come to the last question. You were part of the DAAD summer school, and how did this experience influence your decision to pursue further research opportunities in Germany?
Okay, so the DAD summer school was in TH Wildau, and that was in September 2023. So that was my first time visiting Germany. And during the summer school, it was an intensive 2-week summer school, I must say. And although we had fun, we had to learn a lot. We conducted research, and we met political figures, mayors of various cities. And it was at that point I realized that Germany is a very fertile ground for research. Anyone who wants to do research. Given that I was researching on micromobilities, micromobilities is relatively a new concept in Ghana. And then I come to Germany and I find that it has all the necessary environments for micromobilities. So I saw the e-scooters for the first time. I saw a well-functioning transport system in Germany for the first time. I was like, Eureka, this is what I'll be looking for. It's like Antonia said, it's not everything you may want to do that Germany may be suitable for you. But in the last few years, I can say that Germany is moving towards a more sustainable, is looking towards sustainable research. So if you are not doing anything sustainability, you may want to adjust your research interests to suit sustainability to be able to come here, because if you don't do anything sustainability, you may not get here. So the summer school opened my eyes to that option. And that was the second time I heard about the Humboldt Foundation also. And given that I was part of the DAD, Sustainable Mobility Academy, it set a very basic foundation for me. And I think it gave my application a very strong case for the ICP fellowship I applied for. So I think thanks to DAD, I find myself here for the second time. And thanks to the Humboldt Foundation, I am permanently here for the next 1 year to conduct research on mobility. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Manuel. That was inspiring to see how funding can be so diverse and impactful. Yeah, I think we will just continue right away with a successful lady, a PhD candidate in the International PhD Program of Agricultural Economics, Bioeconomy and Sustainable Food Systems at JLU Gießen. Evi, thanks for being here.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, good to see you.
Hi.
How did your DAD scholarship for both your master's and PhD studies shape your research career?
So I did my master program MBA from University of Leipzig, also by DAAD EPOS scholarship. It's a development-related postgraduate courses, which during my master programs, I did for my master's thesis, I did research on agricultural economics, and under this EPOS scholarship from DAAD, actually during my master, for us we are it is mandatory for us to return to our home country to do field work, to do medical research. And then that's yeah, they supported with DAD funding, so I could like, go back to my country collecting data. And yeah, I'm basically finishing my master research. And also that's also like my that's really leads me to the topics, the same topics for my PhD research, because my PhD research also still in the same area in the agricultural economics, like sustainable agricultural economics. So there is like a history from research doing my master and then also my PhD, and then like there's a relevance like continuation of the topics. So which yeah, actually it's kind of like in the same field of area. And then I got my PhD under the IPE program and the USS Libby University of Gießen, also in the similar topic research. And it's a structure PhD program. So well, actually the programs we are assigned to the professor as our supervisor, then the programs. So yeah, basically that's the history of how my master and PhD research are kind of like connected, and then it's become my research area for now. Yeah.
Thank you. And what
Okay.
challenges did you face transitioning from the academic research in Germany to your current role in the private sector in Indonesia?
Yeah, so actually I'm not from my academic background. I always been working in the private sector. So I think the change that I experience is like in the academic research, we takes a lot of time doing a conceptual works and literature review and finding research gaps and exploratory, like we spend quite considerable a lot of times. But in industry, we are expected to do something more practical and then more actionable action. So I think that's the change that I experience, more into like more practical rather than spending a lot of time doing literature review and conceptual thing. But also it's very interesting to see something that you research something that actually resulting in something that actionable by the businesses or by the private sector to implement. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
very interesting.
So,
and
yeah.
so reflecting on your long-term DAD funding journey, how was your experience and what would you recommend to aspiring researchers from all around the world who are considering DAD scholarships?
I think it is important to have like aligned your focus of interest in doing research. I mean, for example, in my case, my master research also like it's kind of line or relevant with my PhD topics. So it's also like when I create a motivation letter or preparing proposals, is because I did research back in my master degree about this area, and I'm this really gain my interest in doing like a further research in these topics in Indonesia. So it's kind of like there's alignment between the research, and also that's also the I think the selection committee like really that alignment. Why do you want to do this? And because I have previous research in doing this kind of experience, I just want to do like more depth in a research with the PhD. I think that's also important. And as a Manuel mentioned before, I think it's the relevance topic with the global issues also important right now. So I mean, choose something that's actually like relevant with the global issues, the current issues. That's so. I mean, it's good to have a research topic that actually we try to answer the real world problems like sustainability or how we can tackle a climate change, for example. I think that's also important to have a like a focus on alignment with your previous background, and then the topics that's actually relevant with the global issues. And also another tips is also establish a good relation with your professors also, like because during my application for my PhD in the IPE, I got a recommendation letter from my supervisor from when I was in Leipzig. So like he was my master thesis supervisor, like supervised me during my research, and also he knows me, he understands me. So then when I asked him to give a recommendation letter because I'm applying for a PhD, so he's willingly really helpful and then want to provide the recommendation letter. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Evi.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, and that's an interesting merge of an academic career and one in the private sector. So it's really both.
Yeah. And also, I wanted to add something because actually, in my PhD programs, the DAD also provided the funding for due to the field work. So actually, I went for a field work 2 times during my PhD to collect data, like quantitative and qualitative, and then in my field, because it's a social and economic science, a social science, our subject are people, and then like a human. So actually, in a social research, we need to spend like more time in the fields, like interviewing people, having a focus group discussion, having an observation. It's kind of like more like ethnographic study. So it takes quite some times on the field, and then that's the funding from DAD really like support that needs for the social research, which is also helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that add-on.
Yeah.
I think there will be probably questions on that later on.
Yeah,
So
sure.
due to time, I will just continue right away with the next speaker.
Okay.
We will now continue with Michel, who is based in Berlin at TU Berlin. He is about to finish his PhD in mechanical engineering and will share with you his variety of research funding experience. And Michel, you can go ahead.
Hi, thank you for having me here. So I'm from Brazil, actually Northeast Brazil, and I'm here in Berlin to finish my PhD as a joint degree between TU Berlin and the Federal University of Santa Catarina in South Brazil. Right now, I'm also working as a researcher here at TU Berlin, seeking for a project-based funding as well. So my journey started in South Brazil. Though I'm from Northeast, I was living in South Brazil for writing my master thesis. And then once I started my PhD there, I was found by a colleague, former student from South Brazil as well, but he was actually working here in Germany as a research assistant and looked for a very specific type of profile when he found me. And for those who doesn't know, in the south of Brazil, there is this state called Santa Catarina, and the state has 2 remarks. One is the German heritage. Basically, the second largest Oktoberfest is not in Germany, is in Santa Catarina. And the second remark is the island of Florianopolis, which is the capital of the state. It's a piece of paradise, and also the island hosts one of the most important universities in Brazil, which is the university I'm studying in. And my journey to come to Germany for the second time, actually, because I was here as a student during my bachelor, started to looking for a funding. And my first attempt was DAD CAPS. CAPS is a Brazilian institution. And the type of funding from DAD on CAPS is basically a project-based funding. You apply yourself for one of the 3 categories. It can be a full PhD, sandwich, which means you stay 6 months to 1 year abroad, and quote-hotel, which means either joint degree and dual degree. And as a person who is actually under quote-hotel nowadays, I can assure you that there might be a place in heaven for those who decide to face the bureaucracy of both Germany and Brazil. And that's one of the reasons that for those type of application, quote-hotel is the one with the shortest or the lowest relation between candidates and projects to be funded. So it's the one who theoretically has more chances to find a place. And the duration of those projects are normally from 6 to 4 years, and the type of funding is actually a scholarship. We have also different types of binational project fundings in Brazil as well, and I think in other countries they have similar things. And the best one, I think, is the one between FAPESP in São Paulo, which is not possible for me, and the FG And this type of funding is also a project-based funding, and you need to apply 2 different projects, one here in Germany and another in Brazil. And both projects need to be approved and linked. And the type of funding actually depends on how the project is written. It can be, for example, that you receive a scholarship if you work for Brazil, and you are a research worker if you work for Germany, for example. And next one is if you are already here in Germany, or if you have a good contact here in Germany, you can apply yourself straight for to DFG, to a project-based funding. And the requirement basically is having a previous work, a preliminary work, which can be, for example, a journal publication. And if you got it, you're probably gonna it's a work contract. It's not like a scholarship. And I tried basically all of them, and the one I got it was actually from TU. I got some different scholarships from TU. One of them is really important if you are already here and looking for a way to stay a bit longer to finish your PhD. It's a 6 months scholarship just to finish the PhD, and it is for international students, so it's really great. And the other one I let for last, it's one that helps me more than the others, basically because it helped me to stay here in Germany, is called Anschubfinanzierung. It's basically support you have to find a project here. Nowadays, I'm under this type of contract, but it's a contract, it's a work contract. And during my PhD, I was supported by international office from TU Berlin with some Anschubfinanzierung, and those supports are a kind of scholarship as well. They are not work contract, okay? So, and finally, I just want to say that I'm living now in Berlin, and I'm pretty glad that things that I tried in the beginning didn't work well, because the ones I tried would demand me to come back to Brazil and stay a few years there, and that's not on my plans now, for example. If you have any questions, please let me know, especially if you have questions about Cocktail, because I think it's a pretty hard place to navigate through.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Michael. There are probably going to be questions later on. I think this was quite interesting because you gained so many different experiences of a diverse spectrum of funding. So that's really great that you shared that with us. We will just continue right away. Our next candidate is Dr. Marcos Martínez Fernandez. He will share his brand new experience of receiving an Alexander von Humboldt funding and navigating through international research opportunities as a young researcher.
Hi.
Marcos, we are so happy you are here with us today.
Yeah, nice. So thanks, Clarissa, for your kind introduction. Do you hear me, right?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. So as you say, I received the Alexander von Humboldt, and it's a really nice opportunity to make a postdoc here in Germany, but securing it requires careful planning. So the first thing that I did is to find the perfect research group. So to do this, I tried to identify potential host groups, and so I used academic social networks such as ResearchGate or Twitter, and I also reached out to colleagues already living in Germany to find my perfect match. Through this, I found that group that perfectly matched my research and or interest, and I could have synergy with my own expertise. So to contact the chief leaders, I made sure that my email will stand out. And to do this, I sent a strong motivation letter explaining why I was interested in their work and how I could contribute, along with a well-structured CV highlighting my key achievements. About the proposal, it isn't just about what you want to do, it's about what you can achieve together with your host group. So the best projects emerge when your expertise and the expertise of the host group complement each other in the way that neither of you could accomplish that project alone. For me, this meant carefully analyzing my potential host strengths and identify how my background could bring something new to the table. The mindset I shaped the way I framed my project was first clearly explaining the scientific challenge and why it matters. Second, justifying my approach and demonstrating how it's outside of the state of the art and its feasibility within this group, and a brief justification about the impact, not just on my career, but also in my field on long-term collaboration. And before ending this part, I wanted to give some tips I used. So the first one was to tailor my language to make the proposal accessible to an interdisciplinary panel. The second one was to find the balance between ambition and feasibility, because these fellows last for only 2 years, and that's a short time. Then you have to align your profile with the Alexander von Humboldt key values, which are resumed in the website. And the last one is the focus. You have to focus on your project as this project is your only option. And instead of applying to a lot of different positions, that's what I did. And I believe it helped me to take my proposal to the next level.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And you've applied for the Marie Curie Fellowship as well. And how was this experience? And how do you think it would shape your career differently?
Yeah, I just say I applied for the Marie Curie, and although I didn't get it, I came very close. I scored 90% out of 100, while the usual cutoff is 93. But this fellowship is one of the most prestigious in Europe, and securing it will have opened many doors for me in academia, providing not only funding but also strong recognition and career opportunities. And as one takeaway I could say from this experience is that combining to applying to Alexander von Humboldt or other position and Marie Curie is a smart strategy, in both require a well-established proposal, and when you have a solid Alexander von Humboldt project or a previous project, you can refine it and expand it for the Marie Curie instead of starting from scratch. Of course, you need to adapt the project or the focus, but the core idea could remain the same. Also, this fellowship evaluates aspects that go beyond of pure scientific excellence, because you need to demonstrate impact, not only in academia, but also society, industry, economy. Also, you must align with with a broader European priorities, such as this European Green Deal, showing how your research contributes to sustainability and long-term innovation. And also, everything has to be planned down to the last detail. For instance, open science practice conference you will attend on transient journals, so you have to work a lot of that. And even though I didn't secure this funding, working on this application made me think more strategically about my research or its real world impact or application, and that's a really good lesson. And I will apply for the next call, of course.
Thank you. It's great to not lose hope and never give up. And I mean, it's just one offer which was neglected. So, yeah, what inspired your decision to transition from Spain to Germany, and how has this move impacted your academic and professional goals?
Yeah, my decision to move from Spain to Germany was driven by my long-term goal of becoming a research group leader in Spain in a near future, I will say. In my field, having international experience is crucial, and working abroad for at least 2 years is often seen as essential for gaining the necessary skills, networks, credibility to lead this team. And additionally, my girlfriend was already making research here in Germany, in Bonn, and we both believe that going both to Germany will be an excellent opportunity for both of us. So this country provides the right environment for professional growth, and the resources available here are invaluable for my career.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Marcus. What an uplifting and truthful insight into the realities of a research career of a young international researcher. We will continue right away. And yeah, coming up, we have Dr. Magdalena Parcheva. She will speak about how she combined a DAAD and Alexander von Humboldt funding with her diverse career stages and networking skills. Hi, Magdalena.
Hi, thank you very much, Clarissa. I'm very happy to be here in this interesting online event and to share experience and to hear interesting career paths and tips from the other participants.
Yeah, so let's get right started. How did your initial DAAD and Alexander von Humboldt funded stays in Germany influence your career trajectory, especially your work at the Ministry and later academia?
Yes, I received my DAD scholarship at a very early stage. I was developing my PhD thesis, and at this stage is very important to properly to define the research problem and to set the objectives, to choose the right research methods, and the support from the host professor from the University of Rostock department management was very important for me. In this DAD scholarship also was the important point of my career trajectory because I had the opportunity to develop my PhD thesis, to elaborate another research project and to apply for a Roman Herzog research fellowship and later for Ernst Mach research fellowship in Austria. That's why I am very, very excited that I had this opportunity to be in Germany, to have this Germany-funded research fellowships. But after my scholarships, I returned to Bulgaria and I decided to find a new career path because I'm really was trying to choose different opportunities, different careers, and different possibilities and opportunities for personal development. And at this stage, it was 2005, and the unit responsible for managing of the operational programs financed through the European funds was formed, and I started working at the managing authority of a program of the regional development operational program. This was in Ministry of Regional Development and Public Works, DG Programming of Regional Development, and I had skills for this type of job, and this job was very good for me because I gained experience in project management. And after some time, I returned to academia, and I'm currently a lecturer, researchers, and I participate in different research projects and also educational project funding by Horizon Plus and Erasmus Plus program. And my career path is so diverse, and not only academia, but so it happened.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think this already touched upon many points. So you are an alumna engaged with the Alexander von Humboldt network in Bulgaria. And what role has this networking played in maintaining international research collaborations?
Yes, the Humboldt Union in Bulgaria is a very active organization that unites Bulgarian fellows and prize winners of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. And the mission of this union is to contribute to the strengthening the scientific relations among Humboldtians in Bulgaria and the region, and popularize our science, Bulgarian science in Germany, and German science in Bulgaria. After my return in Bulgaria, administrative representative of the Humboldt Union Bulgaria established contact with me as alumna, Alexander von Humboldt alumna, and since then I'm a member of Humanities and Social Sciences section of the Humboldt Union. This is very good thing because this union regularly organize events, Humboldt collects these scientific meetings or conferences and public lectures. And we have the opportunity to meet each other, the Humboldtians from Bulgaria, but also Humboldtians and other researchers from other European countries. For example, in previous year, that in 2024, the Humboldt Union in Bulgaria organized the Humboldt Collect in Sofia on the topic human and artificial intelligence in science and society. And this event took place over 4 days and was attended by scientists from different countries, German and Bulgarian officials, and also a representative from German embassy in Sofia. And our special guest was the president of Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, Professor Schlögl. This Humboldt Collect was a forum for discussions on various aspects of application of artificial intelligence, and it was a very interesting event. So such events are important for establishing and maintaining long-term collaboration. In this area. This is so the alumni portal Deutschland is a very good platform for and organize different events. I'm here to have participated in a Female Forward mentoring program organized and supported by Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, and I gained here so much experience as a mentor, but with colleagues with other and this is a fellowship in Germany is not only a place, not only thing to gain and to have professional knowledge. I mean, this is forming me another point of view of the life, another to be more open to the different opportunities, to take the initiative, to be a leader of a research group. The previous mentioned that, and that's why it's very good to have the opportunity to give such.
Yeah, thank you so much, Magdalena. I think you already touched on so many different points. I will skip the last question and we will maybe use it for the Q&A session, because you already gave so many helpful tips, and you also pointed out the importance of networking, which is very great. Thank you so much. So we will now come to our today's final presentation by our dear Professor Oluwatoyin Odeku. So Toyin, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I want to especially appreciate the opportunity given to me to make this presentation. I am a professor, I'm Oluwatoyin Odeku. I'm a professor of pharmaceutics at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. I'm presently in Germany on a research group linkage. Let me give you a bit of my background. I'm a pharmacist by profession, and I obtained all my degrees from Nigeria. I obtained my bachelor's from the University of Ife, and then my master's and PhD from the University of Ibadan. University of Ibadan is the first university in Nigeria and is the oldest, as we have it, is the largest with over almost 50,000 students. And I did my postdoctoral training at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. That was the first funding opportunity I had outside Nigeria. It was sponsored by the UNESCO Israeli government. So I spent a year at the Hebrew University, and then I have had a number of other fellowships which I've listed, and I listed them because I want to try to see the difference. I'm going to mention some of the opportunities I have with the Alexander von Humboldt, with the research funding in Germany that was not available in some of this. I've been a past dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Ibadan, and I'm the director of the office. I've been the director of the Office of International Programs. I am the Humboldt Ambassador Scientist in Nigeria. And so I can relate with most of what Magdalena talked about, Humboldt colleague, and so on. And for my research in Germany, my research journey in Germany actually began in 2006. So you can see it's a journey of about 19 years now, and I still maintain my connection with Germany. And that is what is unique about the funding that's given by the German government. I had my George Foster Fellowship by the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation in 2006. And these I utilized at the Martin Luther University in Halle. I spent only 1 year because at that time my children were young, and somehow I wanted to return to my home country. I wanted, sometimes as a woman, you have a family, and it's a decision you have to make with your family, whether you want to settle abroad or you want to settle in your home country. For us, we chose to settle in Nigeria. So we had to, and with your career, if you are from a developing country like mine, you'll discover that you have limited funding opportunities, you have limited access to state-of-the-art equipment. So if you really, really want to develop, especially in the science area, you need this connection, you need this network, so that you can actually be able to do quality research. And so after I returned to Germany, to Nigeria, I got the DAD visiting scholar fellowship for experienced researcher. It was for 3 months which I utilized at the University of Würzburg. And so in 2011, of course, I keep returning back to my home country. In 2011, I had a research group linkage, also supported by the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. And it was a 3-year project with this funding, because what the funding does is enable you to establish a research collaboration with your partner in Germany, and it also, you want to facilitate exchange. And so with these grants, I was one of my PhD students. Actually, she did bulk of our experiment for our PhD study during this fellowship. And then one of my postdoctoral candidates was also trained on this research group linkage. And what it enables you to do, of course, you have the opportunity of collaborating with the scientists in Germany. You also have the opportunity of conducting the kind of cutting-edge research that will help make you to stand out. And then in 2021, I also had the DFG grants, and then, of course, another research group linkage, which is currently on at the Free University. A PhD student will be trained on this, and a postdoctoral student. So what are some of the benefits? One thing why the German research landscape is different is that you have good quality of life. You can see the picture deliberately. This is my favorite picture of my children when we were in Germany in 2006, 2007. Of course, they had the opportunity of learning the language. I went to language school for 4 months, but for them, within 2 months, they were speaking good German. They could understand, they could read, they write, and all that. And one of them in particular still speaks very good German because he has maintained that. You have excellent lab infrastructure, excellent mentoring opportunities, because you are working with top researchers in your field. You have the opportunity to network, to find with other people. You can see in my journey, I've been to quite a number of universities, not just one. So each time I keep expanding my network. Okay, you have good family support. When I was there, I could bring my children. For all the other fellowships, often the recognition for family is not there. So that's one advantage I have with the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, because they offer you support for your family. Then you can also conduct your research and publish in English. Something I made up my mind is, wherever I go, even if I spend 1 month, I must leave a trail of publication to show that you have been somewhere. I mean, you have been to that place. So that also helps to facilitate your continuous contact with colleagues. And then you gain international recognition, and then the alumni funding opportunities. The alumni funding opportunity is something that I find very, very beneficial, especially if you have benefited for the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation Fellowship. They offer you a return fellowship. There's a book grant. There's the equipment grants, and I was a beneficiary of this equipment grant, and I have an equipment that I now use to train both my undergraduate and postgraduate students. And the part of the alumni support is also the support that is given to the support that is given for you to continue to conduct research. You can return back to Germany to continue your research with your collaborator in Germany. So you have further research stay. You also have what we call the Humboldt College. I think Magdalena mentioned that. In 2021, I was given the Humboldt Alumni Award, which is for innovative mentoring. And I started a mentoring program before then. With the support of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, I was able to expand the mentoring initiative. And then we also organized the Humboldt College and last year, which was on empowering women in academia, advancing inclusion, equality, and diversity. That also opened a new area. This morning, I met with colleagues in the gender office at the University of Ibadan. And of course, with that comes recognition. You get recognized, because I recently won the Nature Award for mentoring in academia. So, but it does not come without challenges, especially I know for so many of us, we have the challenge of language. I told you my language course was 19 years ago. I can understand, but when it comes to speaking, I can only pick a few. But at the beginning, of course, it's like you have to learn the language. And then the cultural adaptation, the culture is also different. And a lot of times, for instance, when I was here with my children, my husband could not stay because he had an employment in Nigeria. So he was coming and going back. And of course, we had to find a way to navigate. And then we have visa and immigration issue. But what are the key lessons that I want us to learn? I mean, what are the useful hints that we can, because sustaining a research collaboration with Germany for over 19 years, it's important for you to be open-minded. Then it's also important you learn the language and develop your own support network. I use this opportunity of coming because, of course, when I'm here, I'm free from teaching, I'm free from some other responsibility in my university, so I can actually concentrate and do quality research and, of course, network, attend conferences, and so on. So you must be focused on your career development. Have a publishing strategy. I say leave a paper trail and then integrate into the institution where you are. This is important for you to be able to maintain that contact. For instance, the partnership I have with Potsdam started in 2016, and I was still there a few days ago to make a presentation. Then it's important for you to be visible. Let people know what you are doing. And of course, you should belong to specific research organizations and so on. I think with that, I've come to the end. I've tried to summarize it because of time, but I tell you, it's quite rewarding. And I find the German research landscape and funding opportunity very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheen. That was a great ending of our presentations because I think we all received a lot of helpful input. And I bet some questions have already been answered through your valuable contributions. Yeah, I think now it's time to raise some questions. In the Q&A box, you can still keep typing. And please keep in mind to specifically mention the name of the person you're addressing your question to. And I would kindly ask all our speakers to switch on their cameras. And while doing so, dear audience, keep typing your questions into the dedicated Q&A box. And again, we will mainly be focusing on funding experiences. And we will mainly answer general questions so that we cover all questions of the majority. Meanwhile, we will provide you with a little summary of our main takeaways from all speakers.
Yes, maybe I can just remind you because we had a couple of very interesting speakers today and so many things that we talked about it. But to refresh a little bit, we had Antonia, who has a working contract at the TU Dresden and talked about her experience and having a scholarship as well. We have Manuel, who benefited from the short-term funding opportunities, such as the DAD Summer School, and just received his Alexander von Humboldt funding. And Evi shared receiving a master's and PhD long-term DAD funding, and she's bringing also the perspective of doing a PhD using this funding and I think extending it, if I'm not mistaken. And we have Michel, who received multiple fundings during his PhD, also with the message of it's not just only one funding, you can have one and you can find another one and keep on going until you're financing your studies and maybe also getting a contract later on afterwards for a fellowship or for a postdoc degree. Marcus shared with us on applying to multiple fellowships, the Alexander von Humboldt and the Marie Curie, and a little bit of the lesson learned. And Clarissa, maybe you can continue with Magdalena.
Yeah. Then we had Magdalena, of course. She illustrated how combining the DAAD and Alexander von Humboldt funding enables diverse career paths in both academia and policy. And she also emphasized the importance of strong networks in securing ongoing research opportunities. And then we finished off with Toyin. She highlighted how long-term academic success is supported by multiple fellowships, including the DAAD, the Alexander von Humboldt, the DFG, UNESCO. So she stressed the role of strong networks as well and mentorship in unlocking continuous funding opportunities. So now let's start with our first question. AJ, maybe you would like to start?
I can start. I'm asking our speakers to maybe open their cameras to find you and put you on the spotlight. And we have somehow, unfortunately, a little bit of difficulties entering questions in the Q&A box, but I have put together others. Maybe a first question to all, which is, can I apply for a scholarship during my final semester of master's degree, or do I need to go this is one question, and do I need to go with any entrance exams for a PhD? So maybe this question can go to Antonia or someone who's started, or Evi, how were your experiences?
Hello. Yeah. About that, my experience is because I got also a DAAD EPOS scholarship for my master at Uni Leipzig, and there is a requirement for DAAD that actually when you applying for a program, you're not supposed to be in Germany. So what happens actually, like after I finished my PhD, my master in Leipzig, I went home to Indonesia. So I worked for an organization for 2 years, but almost 2 years. But then during that time, then I applied for the PhD. So I applied the DAD scholarship for PhD when I was in Indonesia. So it's not, I don't know whether that's applied for other DAD scheme, because I applied for the EPOS one. So, but actually that's, well, we're not supposed to be in Germany when we apply for this DAD EPOS scholarship. That's from my experience. Yeah.
I think
So
I
you
can
kind of-
agree with that. I applied also for my DAD for my postgraduates while I was in Greece. Yes.
Okay. I think, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think DAD also, I don't know if the person is talking about getting scholarship to come to Germany, but one thing I noticed on the DAD's website is there are also scholarships, especially if you're from Africa, there are DAD funding for conducting research in your home institution or in an African country. So you could be Ghanaian, but you could get DAD funding to do your PhD probably in University of Cape Town. So those opportunities are also there. But if you want to come to Germany, then you have to research more on those things. Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, you still need to have finished your PhD, your master's degree, in order to apply for a PhD position.
Mm-hmm.
Or to apply to a scholarship. That was mainly the question, I think. So yes, I think you need your certification and to have finished without the final degree or the being a postdoctoral, the application can be a little bit challenging. Or Michael, how was your experience? You're still muted.
Actually, to apply, you don't need to be ready with your master's to submit the project at least. You can, for example, in the case of Brazil, this DAD CAPS, you can apply as a master's student still, but when they give you the scholarship, you need to be finished with your master's. So you can do the process while you finish your master's, and but once you get the scholarship, you need to be finished with your master's.
I think it's always important to take a closer look at the requirements, because some say sometimes you need like more work experience. Some they can really come with different requirements. In this case, it's always safe to take a look. What do they need? Should you be done with your thesis or with their master degree completely and then apply? Yeah, it comes in different shapes and colors.
And there was one more question for Magdalena as well, and I cut you short due to time constraints. So maybe I will just ask a question now. Magdalena, how would you maybe narrow down a few advices for people who are applying or about to apply for fellowships as the Alexander from Humboldt, because you're still so much involved?
Yes, thank you. The first, in my opinion, the first point is to have a good project. The quality of the research project, the quality of the research outline is very important. And you need to focus on the proper research problem, on the research gap, and to have and to think and to elaborate a qualitative project. This is very important, and also this project and this research outline have to be good coordinated, good with the host professor, with the host institution. And then the different call for proposals, there are different specific requirements in each call for proposal and each procedure. The Alexander von Humboldt, Maria Curie, and so on. And my advice is to read these requirements of the specific call for proposals and also the criteria for evaluation of the project, for the evaluation of the research outlines and or applications form and so on. Because you have to make a good concept and a good project regarding this criteria, and of course relevant, of course the topical questions are very, very important, and that's why as tips, and this is very, very difficult task, but also an interesting task to make also. And choose question of the topic of interest of the researcher. My interests are in management or entrepreneurship or workplace innovation or so on and so on. And to have this interest, and is very, very important in my opinion, to do something who is very, very interesting questions and topic.
Very interesting to you personally as well, so that you're able to put in the effort. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
and of course the others also touched upon this point, right? You all mentioned that it's good to have a topic which is relevant in today's world. Yeah, we just touched upon the sustainable aspect. So I think these were all great tips. Thank you.
I have the next question for Marcus, because someone was writing, I'm currently working as a MSDA fellow at Portugal, and I'm planning to apply for Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship for experienced researchers. So do you have any idea how to go through it, is his or her question?
Yeah, well, as I said, the first thing you have to do is to find a group where you could have a synergy with, because the research expertise of the host is very important, and one of the most important aspects of the Alexander von Humboldt is the two-way transfer of knowledge between you and your host. So you have to do something in between your both fields. And what I did is share research in my research topic, which is porous materials. And among all the researchers I found, I knew a professor here in Germany which perfectly matched my expertise. And yeah, you have to write emails and cross fingers so if to someone reply you. That's why I say that the motivation letter, it's very important. Also, your CV has to be really concise in to not lose the time of that guy you are asking out of the blue that you want to write a project with him, and to give a really good impression. I think that's really important. Also, if you have colleagues here in Germany, or you have someone who who can help you and telling you like this group is nicer than this other one because this one is more old-fashioned. I think that would be that would be nice. But you have a lot of social websites, Twitter, ResearchGate, and so on. So you can make a first screening and then try to contact the people by Twitter, email. Yeah.
Thank you. I just saw one more question for Evi. So you did two different types of DAAD funding, and the question was, first of all, if there's also language courses offered included in this funding you received.
Yeah, so yeah, we did. Well, I got a German course. I mean, for my master, we got a 2 months German courses before the master, but because my master program also was in English, but we had like 2 months of intensive language course in also already in Germany at that time. It was back in 2015. And then during my PhD, it was during COVID. So I went to Germany in October 2020. It was during COVID time. So the language class was done online. So I was still in Indonesia, and then we had an online classes for 2 months every day. And then yeah, because of this restriction, but then yeah, after that, after the online courses, I mean, to do the PhD, we are required to be in Germany. So then I still during the COVID time, arrived in Germany in October 2020. So yeah, we did get a course. And also like the DAD also provide a subsidy for if you want to continue our German course. I think there's some are limited, but some are funding. Like if you want to continue the German course other than the one that provided by DAD, we can go to the Volkshochschule or something or other German course in your city, and then you can apply for a subsidy from DAD as well. I think it was one-time subsidy, but it's good to cover maybe one level of Germans if you want to continue. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
And you
yeah.
received 2 different types of DAAD funding. How do they differ?
Actually, it's the same under the EPOS DAAD, the development related postgraduate. So it's like a development related courses for people like for professionals from developing countries. So the same scheme. So actually the DAAD EPOS has a list of the programs and the scholarship offers from different university all over Germany for both master and PhD. So I received both the master and PhD from those lists of the DAAD EPOS the scholarship. So it's kind of like the same scheme, yeah.
Okay.
So
I see.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. I'm just checking the time. Maybe we will just conclude with one last question, and then we will do a little survey. And if people are still interested in staying, we can maybe touch a few more questions after the survey. But the people who need to go, they need to go now. That's perfectly fine. So let's just come to one last question, maybe.
I would actually, Clarissa, if I may, I would just say maybe one last question for every one of the speakers.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's great.
very short, one sentence. What would you advise everyone who's looking for funding, a funding opportunity in Germany? What should they do or bear in mind? Very short. Who can start? Who has already an answer?
You can just unmute and start talking, whoever would like to start.
The one main advice for you, yes, go ahead.
I will say focus. You have to think about doing this step like 6 months before doing it. So you have to be focused. It's in the beginning. I think for me was the most important. And every day I was thinking about the proposal while sleeping, while working, while every time. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. From me, I think one thing is also, yeah, it takes preparation to prepare the proposals, so very good proposals. I think one of the tips is actually once we develop our draft of the proposals, if you have someone who already like doing a PhD, already finished the PhD, and I mean you have your friend or something, ask them to review and give feedback to your proposals. It's also really helpful because they have an experience before, and it gets different eyes to see your proposals, and then they will ask questions like, why do you this? Why did you put this? That's really helpful to get someone who, like you can help you to like read your proposal and give feedback. That's from my tips from me. Yeah. Okay.
I could say from my experience, the preparation and the feedback is important, but at the same time, understanding what you are applying and looking for. A lot of times we have a general goal and we forget to specify, and we we maybe omit the details, which are very crucial, especially on a very big pool of very competitive and very successful market in academia. So I would say be structured and very detailed.
I would say the same as Marcos, to be focused, especially because there are so many types of funding here in Germany that it is easy to be flooded with information. So just grab one and focus on that, and try to not apply for multiple different projects. Focus on one and be sure it's going to take some time, 6 months plus, to get a funding. So it's really important to be prepared, to be ready in advance.
I agree with the other, but I would like just add to choose very carefully the host institution, the host research institution in Germany, the labs there, and in the research opportunity to do research in Germany is a very, very good opportunity.
And I think for me, I'll just say, like I said earlier, the first step to finding funding for research in Germany is by researching. Just research, make sure your research is specific and focus, make sure you're visiting the right websites, make sure you're getting in touch with the right people. Look out for the database of past applicants, people who have successfully been awarded these fellowships or these scholarships. They would guide you through, you would send a number of emails, you'll get a few replies, but still keep pushing and just have faith and be confident. You would get through it.
Yes, and for me, don't give up.
I was just about to say that. I think that like
if you fail once, prepare again, put your acts together, don't give up. Try again. Because a lot of times, and then don't be in a hurry. I know people have said that. Planning, you need to plan, plan your next move. If you want to start, apply for Humboldt Fellowship, it's highly competitive. Start by publishing in, have a good publishing plan and make yourself visible. Belong to ResearchGate, let's be visible, So don't give up. If you fail, gather your documents together, plan again, and try again. Thank you.
Thank you, Toyin. I think these were very great closing words, very wise words. I will just share the PowerPoint again because we would like to share the contact details because unfortunately we have reached the end of the Q&A session. If you still have any unanswered questions, you can find the contact details of our speakers here and you can reach out to them directly, but you can also feel free to take a picture now. And also we will upload the PowerPoint on our website in the coming days. So if you don't manage to save them now, don't worry, they will be on our homepage as well.
You can always contact Research in Germany for any questions. I just added the link for Research in Germany.
Perfect. Well. And here, adding to this, we also have those QR codes on the bottom here of all our social media channels, our newsletter, and our website as well for easy access. And now I would ask you to, for the people who are still here and have the time, it would be great if you could scan the QR code so that we incorporate your feedback into our upcoming events. And I will just share your feedback live now.
I've also added the link for the ones who just want to click on it. It's the Mentimeter link, so you can also click on it.
Just takes a minute. Here. Looks good. Everyone is typing. And again, if you have still open questions, we will maybe stay in after we finished the survey for a few more minutes, and otherwise you have the contact details of our dear speakers and also our website for further access. That feedback is very valuable for us, so thank you for taking the time. Yeah, I will just jump back into the PowerPoint for the Q&R codes again to wrap up. Yeah, so while you finish filling out this survey, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. And of course, a special thank you to our speakers for their inspiring and insightful presentations and interviews. Your expertise and perspectives have made this event truly valuable. And to our audience, we appreciate your active participation and thoughtful questions. Your engagement is what makes these events so impactful. So thank you so much, and we are looking forward to seeing you at our next event. So stay tuned and see you soon.
Goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
you,
all of you.
everyone. Bye.
I would say maybe the questions, if you have any questions, best way would be through contacting us through the contact formula, and I just added the link again. And yes, best of luck and see you soon.